to the celebration of being here.
Yes.
Let's celebrate. Pick your
Yes.
excuse.
Yes.
Our excuse is 14 years of being on the air, doing a Being Here podcast.
That's a good excuse to celebrate.
We've learned a lot and we've unlearned a lot.
I don't know what to say about that.
Well, what I mean by we unlearned a lot, I think at the very beginning when we had the idea, we didn't know what we were doing, which was actually true.
That's a good idea.
We didn't have, what do you call it? Experience doing it. But we also had the pressure to produce rather than just be.
Right.
So over the 14 years, we've produced a lot, but our ability for being here has become more relaxed and more in the forefront. And we invite you to join us on the journey.
Yes.
You like that?
I like that.
All right.
Okay.
Should we talk about
listening?
Listening
is a skill set.
Listening.
That you get better at when you realize you haven't been. See, most of us don't listen. We think about what's being said and see how it fits in our system of interpreting life. You know, we have an idea that's been programmed into us about how the universe is, and then we fit what comes along into that idea, and it's called thinking about. So if somebody says something that you don't know, you think about whether you agree with it, disagree with it, already know it, like that, rather than just let those words drift into you wherever they come and see what else is there. Not to get somewhere, not to already know what. Yes, dear.
I just flashed on something. Remember one year you went fishing down at our local little river and you came back and you said to me, Ariel, there is a Canadian goose sitting on her nest. It was one of these things you came on randomly.
Yes.
You weren't looking for it.
Yes.
So the next day we went down and I brought my camera, and sure enough, she was sitting on her nest, and her nest was lined with fluff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the ducks and geese and birds often line their nests with fluffy stuff down.
Like down, right.
And when you talked about listening and letting the ideas just settle into place, it's like down. You just let the fluff settle in and you rest in it rather than having to have it produce something.
I remember once when I first fell into the moment, I called a person who I knew when I was working for a company leading seminars on living in the moment, even though my living in the moment was transitory at the time. And I said, hey, I discovered this amazing thing, the moment, you know. He says, well, what can I use it for?
How will it help me? What can I do with it?
And I said, nothing, because you can't do anything with the moment. It's just something to experience, not think about, not talk about, be in.
What if you don't get anything from this celebration today?
What if you just allow yourself to take a breath and feel the air come into your lungs? Man, that's amazing.
That's a celebration.
You're alive.
Especially now, of course, there have been so many people who've tragically been lost to the coronavirus pandemic. But the folks that we know who got sick and who have recovered or in the process of recovering, they can tell you that each breath
is precious.
So we have a couple of precious guests.
Well, let's speak to one of them
Yeah,
first.
let's take our first one, shall we?
Dave.
Hi.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi. I'm Dave. I'm in Winnipeg, Canada. It's nice to be here with you.
It's really
You
nice to
too.
have you here to celebrate with us today.
Yeah. Yeah. Meeting you guys many years ago, I never thought my life could be smooth and easy, drama free. Really, it really is good to be here and to
Mm.
not, I don't know, not have to force myself into the moment. Just listen to you and be with you it's just really a pleasure.
Mm.
Mm.
Do you find that, you said, and listen to you and be with you? Thank you. We appreciate it. We're honored that you bring your presence here. Do you find that ability to listen and be with people extends everywhere in your life?
Yes, it does. Some with greater ease than others. But and with that comes an awareness of when I'm not,
Mm.
and when I'm activated by something that I didn't have that awareness before. And I thought I was listening.
Activated. Activated is good. It's almost like the car gets
I
turned
like the
on.
word reactivated because I think it's a more apt expression. Activate is when you get into action, but you
Mhm.
react to something that somebody says or does, and then you're no longer here. You're in an automatic upset or behavior that lacks the authenticity of the moment. That's old, that you've done before and have said, I've got to stop doing this.
Yes. Telling myself to stop doing something has never stopped me from doing it.
That's right. Awareness. Awareness is interesting. Awareness is a non-judgmental seeing. And if you see something and you don't judge it, it's over in the moment you see it. So a behavior that could be considered negative, if you see it, it's no longer negative. It's just a behavior. And it doesn't repeat itself if you see it and don't judge it. It's only when you judge it that you keep it in place. And we've all done that.
Yeah.
I'm so visual today for some reason. I recall when Sha and I were in California, and we were visiting our son, and we were staying at a hotel, and we walked down a street in a bit of leisure time. And I went into an antique store, and there were old postcards there. And I was going through the old postcard bin, and I found postcards from my where my mom was born in the Dalles in Oregon, and what it must have looked like when she was a little girl. And there's something about, you when you're here, you can, rather than react, you can go through and see, aha, here's something new. I can be here. You don't have to come back with the automatic response to any situation. That image really had nothing to do with anything. It was just
That's cool.
well, what happened was Shy and I watched a movie last night. It's one that's been around for quite a while. It was called Becoming, about Michelle Obama's tour, about book tour,
book.
about her book Becoming, that after she had left the White House. And there was one particular passage in this movie that really touched me. She was talking about the highs and the lows that could happen in the same day. And on one day, the day that the equal marriage rights that came through, so that people who were gays and lesbians had the rights to get married. But at the same day, they'd gone to a funeral for some people who had been massacred while at Bible study. And they showed a little bit of video with Barack Obama standing up, and he was supposed to do a piece of eulogy
in this church.
And the camera's watching him, and you see the minister, you see the people, and you see him with his eyes closed, and he's kind of shaking his head, but it was almost like, do I say this? No. Do I say that? No, it was all reactive. And in the moment, he just opened his eyes, looked at the people, and started saying Amazing Grace. And people were really moved, and they stood up and they started singing with him. But it was not reactive to this situation. It was a creation in the moment, even though the situation was incredibly reactivating. And I see that as a possibility for all of us, that we can react or we can create. And of course, one is not good and the other is not bad, but certainly when you step into creation, life is infinitely more satisfying.
Well, I absolutely agree with you. And I was wondering, we were talking about listening before, and I was wondering how it is listening to your children.
Oh, it's really sweet when I listen to them. And it's different each time because they're saying something different all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, my oldest, who lives with me, I don't remember exactly what was happening, but he was angry about something. And that we're talking about being reactivated. That's an easy one for me to get reactivated by. He's angry, I get angry, I'm trying to push my way through. And I've just seen that doesn't actually support him or me or our relationship. And I've seen him, I've allowed him to have his anger or upset, whatever it is. And when I'm not reactivated by that, it dissipates really fast.
When you listen to him, it dissipates really fast.
I suspect you're missing a little step in there.
Yeah.
I suspect you instantaneously get reactivated, but you don't endorse that reactivation. It's like sometimes when he's angry, you may not have that flash of anger that comes in listening to him, but in the times that it does, I suspect you're getting more skilled at including it, setting it aside, and actively engaging and being there with him.
Yeah, I am. Actually, my other two children are with us this weekend as well. And it's just, I don't know. There's some sweetness in our times together now that wasn't there. My middle son, his name is Elliot. Every morning when he's here, he gets up to light the fire. And he seems to wake up early, and so I'm awake and we sit by the fire. This morning we were reading our books, and I don't know, it's just intimate and sweet.
It's great.
Yeah. Possibility that wasn't there even a year ago. And it's like I've been noticing this seriousness in myself that, I set these goals for myself in different aspects of my life. And I think in order to get there, I have to push my way through to it. And I was like that a little bit. I was like that with him actually in our relationship, and he wasn't ready for it. And when I let him be, when I let things be, it seems like they just find a way of resolving themselves.
Isn't that interesting?
Isn't it?
Really, I mean,
well,
what life
lovely,
will,
though.
Yeah, but life will support you if you let it. But for the most part, we don't let life support us. We have an idea from within the system that created all the problems in our life. We have solutions, but they just recreate new problems. When you allow life will take care of it. When you force your point of view, well, then there's a response. The universe pushes back on you.
Yes.
And you really see that with your kids.
Yeah, I do. I see that everywhere. But it's close, really close with my kids.
You said, I don't know why it's happened, what's happened. I have a feeling, along with everything else, any lingering resentments, bitterness, being right about your ex has drifted away. Because if you were still being right that she was so-and-so, whatever that label was, you would have to be proving it every time your kids came to visit.
Yeah.
Because if she's like this great person and great mother, and you two just happen to be living separately because that's the optimal for your lives, then they come and they can be flourishing with her rather than you having to prove to yourself or to them how she's doing it wrong.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Years ago years ago that was common, where I was trying to force what I thought how things should be between us or between me and the kids. And these days it's, I don't know, what is. And it's so much easier to find it that way than it is to force it.
Well, you force it to get what you think is the proper outcome. And everything that you think is predetermined by what you already know. So you don't think thoughts about what doesn't exist in your bank of thoughts. You only think repetitive thoughts of what you thought about in the past, unless you open your eyes and see something newly, in which case there's a new possibility. And I believe you've been living your life looking at what's going on and not judging yourself. And so you've got a whole new possibility for life.
I do. You're right.
The other thing too, though, you do not lack courage, because there have been times, of course, for all of us, there have been times where circumstances are thwarting our ideas of our perfect moment. And I recall way back around Christmas when you were scheduled to go visit your girlfriend in the UK, and the night before you were scheduled to fly out, UK closed its borders, or Canada closed its, but one of your two countries said, that's it, we're not talking to each other anymore. And that was a huge disappointment. And somehow you found your way into celebrating the perfection of it, even though it absolutely was not your original intention. And that takes courage.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah.
Thanks for being with us today. Really a treat talking to you. Always a treat to see you.
Yeah, same. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's time for our listener feedback spotlight.
Okay, so here we go.
We're going to hear from one of our listeners about how transformation has impacted her life or his life. Let's see.
Yeah. And if you'd like to learn more about what we're up to, you could register for any of our upcoming virtual courses.
Or sign up for our newsletter. Just visit
transformationmadeeasy.com.
It really is easy.
It is easy if you know the way.
I'm Corinne from Glarus in Switzerland. And transformation is just magic. And it's so much fun. When I'm upset, I don't see fun at all. But fun is such a precious thing. And with transformation and also with the global video seminars, I get back in touch with my humor and with the fun in life. Because I lose that easily. And fun is love as well. I just love it. And I love transformation.
Do you want to have well-being with consistency? Connect with people all over the world from the comfort of your own home at Ariel & Shire's lively interactive Living Made Easy virtual seminars. Join any of their 2-hour online events or take a deep dive into the magic of being you at a virtual weekend seminar. Come on, let's connect. Find out more and register at transformationmadeeasy.com.
shout out to all the people who've ever graced us with their presence, being a guest on the Being Here podcast over the past 14 years. Thank you so much for being a part of what's made the show such a success and such a pleasure for us to produce. And also tell our listeners, we wouldn't be here if you weren't listening. So
Right.
thank you. We have upcoming Living Made Easy seminars, Saturdays, Mondays. Our next weekend seminar is Transformational Time and Project Management. That's May 22nd and 23rd. And it's not too early to join us or register also for our Magical Relationships Weekend.
That's in June on the 26th and 27th.
You can find out more and also about our Living Made Easy on Demand subscription series, sign up for our newsletter, all sorts of things on our website.
TransformationMadeEasy.com.
Let's take our next guest.
Yes.
All right. Hi.
Hi.
Hi. I'm Julie in the Bronx, New York.
Welcome.
And thank you. And congratulations on your Being Here anniversary.
Yeah, pretty cool. Went fast.
Yeah.
Seems like forever ago, and then I blink, or as they say in German, for the word moment
Augenblick.
is a Augenblick, a blink of the eye.
Yeah. So I feel like in the past couple days, I really have been celebrating my life after a period of, I don't know, just, some recent ups and downs where I was just arguing with the way my life was turning out.
Oh.
And I saw the other day how much comparison can impact my ability to celebrate my life. I even deleted Facebook from my phone for a few days because I saw how sometimes when I look at friends or people I used to go to school with and I see, how their lives are turning out, I don't really know whether they're happy. I don't really know how they're doing, but I certainly compare myself to the Facebook version of their life and think like, I should have done that by now, or, so yeah, I saw that recently, how much that can impact my ability to celebrate.
Yeah. And Julie, your idea of their life and their experience of their life may be vastly different.
I guarantee you they don't post about cleaning the toilet.
I know a woman who travels a great deal to really exotic places. And she comes to our seminars occasionally. And from her postings, I would think her life would be the kind of life I would want to live. But when she comes to our seminars, I realize she's not been being in those exotic places. She's been complaining to herself about her life circumstances whilst in those exotic places. So, it's so easy to think that other people have it so much better. But the reality of it is that most people are lost in a conversation with themselves about whether they're doing their life right.
Yeah.
And if you have that, you're normal.
I was reading a novel last night. I tend to read things that I call bubblegum books. A bubblegum book has no nutritive value, but it tastes good. So I was reading this, and in this book, there was a quote in there, and it was actually a quote from Jane Eyre. And it said, "Regrets are the poison of life." And I thought that is such a great quote.
That is a great quote.
Because
Why
most
didn't
of
I say that?
And I think like you look at that and go, oh, I should have done that. I should have done that. But there's something I've noticed. It's not always true. If I'm off center, anything could cause me to compare myself and come up less. But I find that if somebody is just expressing themselves, say on Facebook, and I see the flowers in their garden, I think, wow, that's a beautiful picture, and I want to stare at it. If they are not feeling well about themselves and they're putting this up to hide that from themselves and everybody else, I think, wow, that's a beautiful picture. Why didn't I take that? That my experience of their Facebook post
Leads you to complain about yourself.
largely is reflective of how the person feels about themselves when they post.
Yes.
I don't take my thoughts particularly personally. It makes life so much easier.
That's so great. Yesterday, I randomly saw, I'm a high school principal, and right now the high schools are probably going to go back into, we've been remote, and we're probably going to go to in-person learning in a few weeks. And I've been thinking about how to organize that, what's that going to look like. And yesterday I randomly saw a principal that I hadn't seen in a long time, just in a, not non-school situation. And this principal was like, oh yeah, we have it all figured out. My school has this kind of program and it's going to be, I really started comparing myself to this principal. I was like, oh my God, I'm way behind. Like I don't have it all figured out. And I see what you mean. I mean, I don't know how this person is feeling really, but I see what you mean about how sometimes I hear something like that and I might feel kind of inspired, like, oh, great, that's wonderful. This is what I'm doing. And sometimes I just get so focused on myself about whether I've done it wrong. And
But
Well,
that,
you
that
see,
could be the point. Don't look at me. Don't look at me.
Right.
yeah.
Look, we've visited your school. You're a principal of a school where children who don't have English as a first language come to learn the English language as well as the school curriculum so they can pass the Regents test for New York State so they can get a degree. It's been my experience that you are an amazing principal, that you really care about everybody there. You take care of your kids, you take care of your teachers, you take care of the custodial staff. You are there for everybody. And here's the thing, Julie, as you get clearer, you can start to realize that when you start judging yourself, there is a judgment in the space. So we once had a couple come and stay with us for Christmas from Europe. And they seemed very lovey-dovey. We went out to the Christmas tree farm down the road from us, bought a Christmas tree, carried it home, decorated it with them. And we were fighting, Ariel and I.
But it was an unusual. It's like starting to
Different
sing a
cadence.
song that you've never sung before. It was like, what is happening? So we actually started talking to them. We're like, how's your relationship going? How you doing? And then they revealed that they were fighting and they've been trying to put a really good picture on the front.
So their picture still had us experience the reality of their relationship. Even so, though they were trying to distract us with how lovey they were, the underlying rot was still there.
Well, it's a little bit like holding up a picture of sliced watermelon, but what you're really doing is frying onions behind. The person around goes, man, I could swear I smell onions. And you're like, no, it's watermelon.
And look, let's be realistic about this. Most principals in New York City are not happy folks. They're not happy-go-lucky. They're worried about fulfilling the requirements of being a principal. That is the statistics of their school, the graduation rate, the attendance rate, the grades that the kids are getting, the passing and failing rate. All that stuff is pressuring them all the time.
And most people haven't recognized that they don't have to compete with their contemporaries, they can collaborate.
So if you see, the best offense is a strong defense, or best defense is a strong offense. A lot of times people will throw you a curve that you can get lost in so you don't see them.
And actually, I'm really happy to hear you don't have it all together, that you don't have it all planned out and you don't have it handled.
You know, if you look, you'll see what's needed and wanted as the situation shows up, because you don't know how it's going to show up in a week or 2 weeks.
Because if you have it all figured out, you're going to go forward with your plans of what you figured out before
But
you
it
see
may
all the
not be
pieces.
appropriate to the reality that shows up in that moment.
I'm
That's true.
absolutely, well, I'm not certain, but I know you were listening when we were talking with Dave, and I used the example of Barack Obama standing up in this church to give a eulogy. I would not be at all surprised if he had ideas of what he might have wanted to say, not only from as he was traveling there or while he was listening to other people, but he was willing to set aside his plans and be. And that was one of the skill sets that you have been growing.
Developing.
And I've never seen you not be prepared. Both are true. You don't wing it.
And then there's this other thing that you neglect to see, which is your statistics. You see, I'm privy to some information about your school and how the students have rated your school as far as their feeling well being at that school. And your students rate in the top,
Like 97th or 98th percentile of
Of-
feeling well-being, dealing with you, your staff, the curriculum, all of it.
and that's astounding. That's awesome. That's an amazing accomplishment. And it's not something you've done.
Plus you're having a high or higher than average in
Graduation rate.
graduation rate. So I'm so happy to hear you don't have it all together.
Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, well, having it together doesn't mean you're happy, satisfied, well in your life. See, and I'd be willing to bet that you're in the best relationship you've ever been in.
Yes.
And that, you're, this is very similar to the conversation we had with Dave, our previous guest, where his life is just unfolding really effortlessly. And years ago, when we first met him, he was constantly trying to get it to turn out, and it never wants to go the way you think it ought to.
That's true.
It goes the way it goes. Now, how you respond to how life is showing up is where the juice is in life. That's where the fun is. That's where you're there to receive what's going on in that moment.
I'm having another funny picture in my mind. You're talking about having it all together or it's all planned. It's almost like me going, look, I know how to breathe. Holding my breath. And at some point you have to exhale. Life moves on. So what you're planning today might be a great structure or a skeleton to hang the protocols of your school on, but you get people there, you get the teachers there, the ones that come in, if you have any COVID positive, there's all that flexibility that you need to have. You can't just take a deep breath and hold on.
Yeah,
Are you petting your dog?
I am. Yeah, he's right here.
Good for you.
Thanks.
That's part of your celebration. You got an
Yeah.
ace in the hole. Her dog
I
is
know.
ace.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? Good for you. You look like you're having fun with your life.
I am.
And if that's what you teach your students and your teachers, how to have fun with their life, how awesome is that? That makes you incredibly successful. That the
Yeah.
people around you are doing well in themselves, that's amazing.
Yeah.
We were having a conversation with somebody the other day about the person that supervises them at work and how stressful it is and how difficult that person makes their life. Now, I bring that up because you see, you have 400 and some odd students.
Yeah. A little under, like 375. Yeah.
Okay, 375 students. You have a staff of what, 50 people, 60 people?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're all doing well
Yeah.
in your universe, in your environment. So you're doing everything exactly the way you're supposed to be doing it. Not you should be doing it different. It's working around you.
Hey, I like in the title of this show, we said, let's celebrate.
You should
Pick your
celebrate.
excuse, have that be an excuse.
Celebrate that you have an incredible man in your life. Celebrate that you've got an incredible dog in your life.
Celebrate that you're sitting on a comfortable couch. I mean, anything is worth celebrating if you're here for it.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Really, really a treat to be with you like this. It's fun.
Yes.
So fun. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. By the way, before you go, Julie, tell the listeners the name of your blog. I find your blog one of the most, I don't subscribe to a lot of blogs. Yours I do because I find it the most inspiring thing out there. So what is it
Thank
called?
you. My blog is called classroom325.nyc. Yeah, I write stories about my work as a principal and my interactions with the students.
It's
and how
very
they inspire me.
uplifting. It is super uplifting. Classroom325.nyc, because she works for New York City. Okay.
Hey, thank
Thank
you. You're
Thank
a
you.
gift.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much.
All right. Hey, if you want to be a guest or submit a listener spotlight, go to transformationmadeeasy.com/being here and find out how. Next week's episode, it's a good one in preparation for our transformational time and project management weekend.
It's called Clutter is Comfortable.
All right, we'll be back next week.
So come on back.
And don't miss
Being here.